China, the world's second biggest economy, is in a rocky economic period marked by rolling COVID clampdowns. The timing is awkward, given China is in the run-up to the 20th National Congress of the Communist Party in November, which is expected to extend President Xi Jinping's grip on power. But the issues go beyond the pandemic and notably include a deflating property bubble. Here we break down China's economic outlook. Social unrest has erupted in China after almost $6 billion worth of deposits froze up. Thousands of police were deployed to shut down the protest. Following the protest, hundreds of thousands of Chinese homebuyers refused to pay up to $300 billion worth of mortgages. Mortgage payments have reportedly stopped on 301 projects in 91 cities. China is experiencing a repeat of the 2008 recession, but on a whole new level. An entire social revolt is growing as the CCP desperately censor the growing uneasiness. Internal government meetings have revealed substantial stress within the CCP, and the signs are showing that it's only going to get worse. China's social unrest has revealed a multitude of flaws within the country, and the implications will ultimately affect the rest of the world. Over 400,000 Chinese citizens witnessed their bank deposits freeze recently. When depositors went to the ATM to withdraw their money, their withdrawals were simply declined. Panic ensued after people couldn't even withdraw their own money. The bank freeze was a result of a massive fraudulent scheme that played out for over a decade. Protests about the bank freeze have gone viral on Chinese social platforms, despite repeated attempts from the CCP to censor them. While the bank freeze only occurred within 5 different banks, hundreds of other Chinese banks are at risk, according to the Chinese government. After the bank protests went viral, the social unrest spread to almost every part of the country. A recent internal government property meeting leaked several major concerns. 300 million square footage of property construction has been halted. Local governments can no longer withstand the pain. A 200 to 300 billion yuan property fund has been rumored to not be enough. Property sales are down 20%. Construction starts are down 30%. Perhaps the worst of them all is China's recent mortgage revolt. Because Chinese homebuyers are not paying their mortgages, financial regulators have created a proposal to allow citizens to pause their mortgage payments. The amount of unpaid mortgage payments equal 5 banks went bankrupt, which will spread into 20 banks, then 100, and eventually, the entire banking system. This is because, like almost every country's financial infrastructure, the Chinese banking system relies on fractional reserves. When someone deposits $1,000 in the bank does not hold on to that $1,000. The bank will instead keep $100 as reserves and loan out $900 so that they can receive income through interest. The lender of that $900 will then spend $900 on products and services. Because one man's spending is another man's income, someone else will receive that $900 as income and deposit it into the bank. This cycle will keep going on over and over again, causing the bank to be leveraged by up to 10 times. This is called the monetary multiplier effect because the lending is multiplied over and over again. When citizens all try to withdraw their money at once, they will quickly realize that the banks don't actually have the money they deposited. This is because the bank simply created money out of thin air. Economists worldwide know that China's recent social unrest is a signal of a complete disintegration of the Chinese economy. The mortgage boycott did not come out of nowhere. It took years of mismanagement and greed to build up all of the frustration that came in the form of a boycott. Because housing prices kept going up year after year, Chinese citizens were eager to purchase any property on the market. Similar to the build-up of the US's 2008 recession, citizens could not even imagine that housing prices would ever crash. As a result of increasing housing prices, people would save up for years just to get their hands on real estate. An estimated 70 to 80% of Chinese household assets are tied to real estate. Imagine saving up for decades just to finally purchase a single property. Among the gathering clouds over the Chinese economy is rising the jobless rate among young people. About 1 in 5 people in cities between 16 to 24 is looking for work. The International Monetary Fund, IMF, last month cut its forecast for China's 2022 GDP growth by a quarter to 3.3%. That would be the slowest pace in 4 decades, excluding 2020's COVID crisis dip, and below the government's 5.5% target. In July, almost all the data, from retail sales and manufacturing to investments, missed expectations. Lockdowns to enforce China's zero-COVID policy aren't just denting current growth, future consumption would also be cut, while more young people out of work weakens a prop for China's property market. Record heat and the worst drought in decades are also adding to the woes. As growth in major global economies slows as a result of high inflation, exacerbated by the Ukraine war, many economists are hoping that China will again come to the world's rescue. But this is not 2008, when China's then rapidly expanding economy and a huge stimulus unleashed by the Beijing government helped Western countries to recover much faster from the financial crisis. This time, China's economic woes run deep. Business and consumer activity in the world's second-largest economy have been stymied by Beijing's zero-COVID policy that sparked months-long lockdowns on workers in dozens of cities, forcing many businesses to shut. Chinese leaders are loath to reverse the draconian policy now, for fear of unleashing a bigger crisis. Worse still, the recent government crackdown on the debts of property developers sparked a real estate crash that forced one of the country's largest builders, China Evergrande, to the edge of bankruptcy. The property crash is the bigger problem. The economy has shown it can recover quickly from lockdowns, but the damage from falling asset prices in a sector worth 30% of GDP is far more pernicious. Households, banks, and local governments all have damaged balance sheets. While refusing to unleash more monetary stimulus until inflation and the pandemic are under control, China's central bank this week slashed interest rates after industrial production and retail sales grew lower than expected and oil demand fell 10% year-on-year in July. China cuts while the world hikes rates. It's the opposite of what's happening everywhere else in the world where countries are ratcheting up their rates. China has the opposite problems that we have in the United States and Europe. Chinese consumers are afraid to spend for fear of being sent into quarantine with no income.